Welcome to Bead Sisters video podcast. It has been about a month since I recorded video and I have tons of stuff to show you. So I'm Kay. I host the Bead Sisters audio podcast, which I'm hoping to record in just a little while. And I am the owner of Bead Sisters Project Bags and Blueberry Chick Yarn. So welcome. I am sitting on my sofa and I'm hoping the light's good. I tried lots of different spots around the room and this seemed to be the best because there's not a window behind me. There's windows behind me in other places, and it's the first sunny day we've had in ages, and with all the light coming in it's really nice, but it tends to be sort of glary. So I'm sitting here on my couch. How are you? I have notes. I'm feeling a cuckoo clock. I am feeling a little disorganized for some reason, even though I've got tons of notes. So let's talk about some knitting. One of the reasons I wanted to do a video podcast is because I've got some stuff finished and some stuff that I'm working on, and I would love for you to be able to see it. So let's first talk about something I finished. Been on the needles for ages. The Kephart prong socks. Can you see the little pattern in there? And then the rest is just kind of plain vanilla. It's got an afterthought heel. These are toe up. That's not my usual pattern, but I enjoyed them. The pattern's really nicely written. It's Kephart Prong by Pat Hensley. It's a paid pattern on Ravelry, but it's pretty inexpensive, just $2 or $3. So here they are. They have been washed. They weren't really blocked. I just kind of washed them and hung them up. But I really like them. Sometimes depending on how long I've been working on them, if I've been carrying them around for ages, sometimes I just wear them and don't wash them at all before the first wearing. But these I did. I want to show you, it's getting caught, the sock blank, or what's left of the sock blank that I used to knit it. Let's see. Turn this way, you can sort of kind of read it. Maryland Sheep and Wool 2018. A little crab, little Maryland crab there, isn't that cute? It's from Gail's Art. Let's see, Gail's Art sock blank single knit. So that there's just one strand. There are also double sock blanks available if you like to do two at a time, so that when you unravel it, you'll have two strands to use. I'm not a two at a time girl, so. But when you're knitting, it just unravels nicely, doesn't tangle, doesn't roll away from you, but you have to be willing to deal with the ramen noodleness of it. It doesn't bother me, so I find this to be a great yarn put up. But anyway, that's how this sock blank knit up. Isn't it cute? Okay. So happy to have that finished. The other thing is not something finished, but something frogged and restarted with the same yarn. If you've been listening to the audio podcast, you know that I have struggled to find the perfect yarn pattern combination for this. This is a lace weight. Let me see if, I don't know if I have the tag anymore. Doesn't look like it. Oh, yes, I do. Daisy Knits. It's the Smell the Roses in her Dewy Lace base. She is no longer dyeing yarn. So obviously this had to go into the perfect project. I've tried a couple of things previously. The most recent was Dust of Snow. Can't even remember what the one was before that, but the first one I just wasn't happy with how it was knitting up, because you can see it's variegated, it's gorgeous, but this green and pink and white was just pooling in ways that I didn't especially like. So I switched to Dust of Snow, which is by Helen Stewart, and it has you hold, it was actually written for an Advent project, so you would hold your mini skeins plus a skein of like a fuzzy mohair. And so I thought that should work, and I started working with it. I liked the way it worked holding those double. That little fuzziness, the halo from the mohair, let me find a label for that. Rowan Kid Silk Haze. And I liked the way the halo worked with the variegated lace weight. But I just wasn't enjoying the pattern, which is kind of weird because I really like Helen Stewart patterns. But anyway, I had had it on the needles for ages and I just never wanted to pick it up and work on it. I said, this is silly. So I ripped it out and tried this. Milky Oolong by Susanna White. It does the same thing. It has you hold two yarns together, one of which is a fuzzy yarn. So you can see these are my yarns together. It has a large garter stitch section. It's a crescent shawl work top down. You start with a garter tab cast on. And this large garter stitch section. And then you work these lace sections with just the fuzzy mohair. And then you have these little garter sections in between with both yarns, and then it finishes with some garter rows and a picot bind off. So this one, I can tell you, when I ripped out the Dust of Snow, I thought I may just have to break the yarn and start again because of splitting them. What I did was go ahead and just leave the pile of crumply yarn next to my chair. I started this, and in, I think, a day, and I was home a good bit that day, but in a day, I had knit all the way through what I had put into the Dust of Snow, and I'm well past that now. I'm actually getting close to the lace section. I've got maybe a half dozen more rows. It has some size options, so I could go another 5 or 6 rows and then start the lace, or I could do another, I think it would be about dozen rows before starting it, and you're increasing on both the right side and the wrong side. So it grows pretty quickly, and I'm really enjoying this now. It was bothering me working with the yarns held together. The thing just, it didn't feel right. This, same yarns, same needles actually, and I'm thrilled to pieces. So hopefully I will be just as happy when I'm doing lace with the mohair. I've never done that before, but we'll see. Anyway, what do you think? I'm liking this. I think this will be a really pretty shawl for spring and even summer. I've talked before, particularly on the audio podcast, about how I wear shawls to church almost every Sunday because it can get a little chilly, and I like, particularly if what I'm wearing is sleeveless, I like something over my shoulders, and I think this will be a really good option for that. The crescent shape, I'm not a huge fan of knitting it because you end up with gigantic rows, but I really like the way they fit, so I think I'm going to be happy with it. Anyway, I'm excited about that. Again, it's called Milky Oolong. Oolong is a tea, by the way. So, set that one over there. The other thing that I started since last week, I talked about on the audio podcast last week, is Night Shift. This is by Andrea Mowry. Let's see if I can find the first page. And of course I can't. There we go. Show you a picture, you've probably seen this. Night Shift. Mine is not going to have as many colors in it, which is perfectly fine, makes me very happy. Here we go. This is how much I've gotten done. Not tons. It grows on one side only. Stays the same here, so you're going to end up with an asymmetrical look to it. Really like the I-cord edge. Isn't that nice? That looks really good. And it slip stitches, so you can see on the back. In one section, you have your slipping, it's like slip knit, so you have single stitches slipped. Here you have 2 stitches slipped at a time. And I really like the texture of it. It's really thick. I probably should have gone up a needle size, but I think I'm gonna actually kind of enjoy it when it's cold. Of course, I'll end up finishing it just about the time it gets warm here. But pretty happy with that so far. The yarn is Malabrigo. Gift from my friend Bethany. Thank you, Bethany. It is so squishy and yummy. The colors, I'm starting with a skein of this. That's what is in here. Plus this kind of light gray. This is Malabrigo Rios. Color is Loro Barranquero. Am I saying that right? And it's got this beautiful sort of purpley red. It's coming across a little bit more red, I think, than it actually is. It's got a fair amount of purple in it. But then we have this deep, almost black here with oranges and yellows. Really pretty. And then I also have this red, which is the same color as this. That's maybe a little better. So I'm gonna mix and match some of that. I'm probably gonna use some of this. And I've also got this darker gray. You can kind of see the difference. It calls for, I think, 6 different colors, and I think I have 4. So we'll see. I'm just kind of contentedly knitting along with the 2 colors that I have here. And I think I have enough. I could do the whole thing just in these. So we'll see how it goes. If I decide that I want to switch, I certainly can. If not, I would be very happy with it all in these colors. So that is the night shift, and it's coming along okay. Because it's worsted weight yarn, each row seems to make it grow pretty quickly. So, all right, one other ongoing project. These are the, I don't know what to call them. They're just plain vanilla socks, and you can see I've got some funkiness in here. These are the socks I started knitting when my aunt was so sick back in December. She passed away Christmas Day. And I just needed something mindless to work on, and this is what I picked. So I'm perfectly content with them, but you can see I have laddering here. It actually improves a bit. I'm on sock number 2, and hopefully it's a little bit better. I think this one looks better. Not perfect, but better. Some of that'll block out, right? So this is how far I am on sock number 2. I should tell you about the yarn too. So we're here. Heel flap and gusset, because that fits me nicely. The yarn is from One Twisted Tree. Yet another dyer who's no longer dyeing yarn. It's from One Twisted Tree. And the color is Frozen Forest of Dean. It's 75-25 superwash merino nylon. Okay. I really like it. I showed these to somebody who is, I don't think, a knitter, and they absolutely loved these socks. I worked on them actually at a Bible study. It was at somebody's house, and I thought, I'll concentrate better if I'm working on these, so I did. Nobody was upset. I mean, I don't think they were. I'm like, I'm making socks. So anyway, these are coming along fine. This is just kind of my when I need something mindless project. And it's in, look at this cute bag. This is actually a Christmas kit a year and a half ago. It's from Party of 5 Crafts. And they've got little llamas on them. Anyway, very cute. All right, what else can we talk about? I've got some patterns that I'm going to talk about on the audio podcast, but I will mention a couple of things while I'm here. First of all, it's the Milky Oolong that I told you about earlier that I'm using the lace weighted mohair. Top down crescent, we talked about that, holding those together, but I looked up it's based on oolong tea, and the milk oolong is a tea from Taiwan, and it's known for its creamy, buttery taste, and it has to do with specifically how it's processed. And you can look that up on a website. I have no idea how to pronounce this. Grosche, GROSCHE.ca, and it has a fairly in-depth description of this particular kind of tea. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. I've heard of oolong, but milk oolong I didn't know was a separate thing other than oolong tea with milk in it, but it's actually a particular type of tea. And as I said, it gets its taste from how it's processed. So anyway, thought that was pretty cool. A couple of updates from the farm. Let's talk about that for a minute. Last week on the audio podcast, I told you that our dog Bentley was sick. Bentley's our Boston Terrier. He got sick one night. His stomach was all upset. Poor little guy. He felt terrible. But by the next day, he wasn't real hungry, but he was obviously feeling better. He is now completely recovered. For a couple of people asking about him, and yeah, he's doing great. Just a little doggy virus, I guess. He's fine. He was in here in his little bed off to the side, but he decided to move to the kitchen because there's a sunbeam coming in, and he hasn't had a sunbeam to lay in for days and days. It was just so much rain. As a side note, with the rain, yesterday I had something that's supposed to be coming from UPS, something that's supposed to be delivered, and I got a message that said, attempted delivery, signature required. No one was home. Well, that's not true because I didn't leave the house all day. Like, I barely walked out the door yesterday. I kind of stuck my head out and came back in because it was raining all day. So I knew that wasn't true. I called UPS, which is kind of a pain, but anyway, I called and I was like, okay, what do? I was here. And I reported it and they said, okay, well, we'll see. It doesn't look like it requires a signature. Anyway, this morning, like 8 o'clock, the phone rang, and it was my local UPS office. The number from last night was just their regular customer service number. This was somebody local, and they said, your driver was not able to get down your road to your house yesterday. I said, that I believe. There's no way they tried to deliver it and couldn't get me. But when I said, that makes perfect sense. My husband and daughter both went to work yesterday and struggled getting, sorry, I bumped the camera, had difficulty getting in and out. And there's actually a pond down the road a little way that the water runs under the dirt road. There's a big pipe there that it goes through, but it can wash out around that pipe. And my daughter goes that way to work, and she said it was not looking good. She actually came back a different way yesterday. So totally believe the UPS driver couldn't make it. So what they said they would do is have him call me when he's close today. Hopefully I'll be home. I actually have a couple places to go. My family, it's our turn to clean the church. So we're going to go this afternoon and clean. So hopefully somebody will be here when he comes by. But anyway, they said we can meet him at a paved road close by. I said, okay, we'll do that. I understand. So that's how bad the weather has been lately with the rain. Janie's riding lessons have been rained out, and it's not the sudden flash flooding, but definitely rising water. There's a window this way in my house, and it overlooks the North Edesta River, which generally speaking is swamp and glorified creek. At this point, it's not impressive as a river. But this is typically our rainiest time of year. It is well overflowed its banks, which is, again, not unusual in itself, but the amount of water and the fact that it stayed overflowing its banks for the last several weeks probably, that's kind of unusual. We're up on a hill, so if the river is here, it's level that way, and then we're up a hill. So when it floods, it never comes anywhere near our house. it always goes out the other way, and it's swamp right now, which some of it typically is anyway, but it goes on and on forever, it seems like. So lots and lots of rain. How's the weather where you are? I hope you're getting the right amount of rain. It should be dry for the next few days. I think there's some more rain coming in the next week or so, but possibly not the complete drenching rain that we've had lately. I am doing some gardening indoors. I wanted to get some seeds started, but I also wanted some stuff just generally growing inside. So I bought a rack. I may try to put in a picture of my setup somewhere around here through the magic of editing. So hopefully you've just seen a picture of my setup. It's a metal rack with 4 shelves. I have put an oblong, like a rectangular pot, what am I trying to say, planter on 3 shelves, and then I have a smaller seed starting set up on the very top. I have a 4th planter that will eventually go on that top shelf when the seedlings get moved. But right now I just have those rectangular planters on the bottom 3, and I've got grow lights for 3 out of 4 of those levels. I've ordered a 4th one. Hopefully it'll be here. Maybe UPS will be bringing it today. We'll see. But I've ordered a 4th one, and I will have the ability to keep stuff growing, hopefully year-round. Some of it will get moved outside, but probably not everything. What I have started are little microgreens. I don't know if you've seen these in little kits. I bought a kit, but I also just bought some seeds. They're things that'll sprout quickly, so basically you're growing to sprout. Some of it is actually radish, and it said you can harvest them in a week. I'm like, yeah, sure. We're probably looking at 10 days to 2 weeks. No, really. I put them in the little planter, and they sprouted within probably 24 hours, and I actually harvested them yesterday. Not all of them, but a little bit. My son and I've got a little bit I got it to put on in a wrap. So it was like a little bit of extra crunch, a little bit extra greens in my lunch yesterday. So that was really fun, and I'm very excited about that. So if you want to get it to try, you can get the little kits, and it's just like this big, and it's completely, it's like ground cover, so many seeds in there. But because they're not growing past sprout stage, it doesn't matter that they're really crowded. That was fun. It was really fun for kids. You've got a little disc about that big around of soil, and it's completely dried, well, almost completely dried. You put it in the middle of your little planter thing and it tells you how much water, a few tablespoons of water, and that thing just starts to grow. And it's so cool. In a matter of minutes, it's gotten like this tall, and then you just spread the soil in and put seeds on it. Anyway, that was really fun. You can also buy packets of seeds of these microgreens, and I've got one of my planters out there planted with this, and those are sprouting pretty well. They're not quite as thick, and I'm learning that I could add a lot more. What I will probably do is just add some more seeds so they'll be harvested at slightly different times. The other thing that's sprouting really well are actual radishes that I'm planning to grow into radishes. Those have sprouted and are doing really well. I don't know how well they're going to do ultimately in my planter, but I figured I'd try it. Otherwise, we can just wait till the ground is past danger of frost outside. The ground doesn't really freeze here, but we do have potential for frost over the next month or so. In my lifetime, I've seen well below freezing temperatures well into April. It's not common, but it does happen. So I'm going to hold off on those till probably about Easter. All right, so that's my gardening stuff. It's going pretty well. We'll see if it continues to go well over the summer, but I'm hoping that planting at least some stuff in containers will extend our growing season. The other thing that I wanted to share a little bit, I've talked some about reading. This is what I'm currently reading. Joe, thank you for making me coffee, and thank you for this book suggestion called Fever by Mary Beth Keane. It is a novel more or less based on the life of Mary Mallon, who is Typhoid Mary. This is the lady that was an Irish immigrant. She worked as a cook in the Northeast U.S. a little over 100 years ago. And it was believed that though she had never been sick with typhoid, she was a carrier and made people sick where she worked. I've never been quite sure how sympathetic to be until I've heard the story more recently. This was not real accepted science at the time, and she's like, I'm not sick. I've never been sick. I've never had typhoid. Why are you locking me up? And they absolutely treated her like a criminal, and I just think that's so sad for her. She probably was a carrier, and it probably was the right thing to do for her not to work in a kitchen and prepare food for people, but it also wasn't her fault. She didn't believe she was actually a carrier, and as I said, the science was, I think, relatively new at that time, and so it's completely understandable why she said, I didn't do anything wrong. So anyway, interesting. As I said, it's a novel. It's not actually fact. It's just more or less based on her life. Anyway, novel Fever, and it's pretty good. I got it about a week ago from the library, but I didn't start it until more recently. The other things I'm reading are actually books that I'm reading with my children. One is called Caldera. This is one I'm reading with my son. It's a part of the Ranger's Apprentice world. It's one of the Brother Band books. So if you've read any of the Ranger's Apprentice Brother Band Chronicles, this is in that family. And we're really enjoying it. It's great for, I would say, middle school age and up. Fun for adults as well, but very appropriate for children that like adventure, boys or girls. Again, the Brother Band Chronicles, I think, is it Flanagan? I think the author's name is Flanagan. The other thing I'm reading with Janie, and I do not know the author's name for this one, but the Hero's Guide to Saving the Kingdom. This one's great. If you have elementary readers, I think this one would work. They may need a little help depending on how well they're doing reading if they're elementary age, but really fun books for children and up. I'm enjoying it too. So Hero's Guide. I think this one's Hero's Guide to Being an Outlaw. It's the third in the series. I don't know if there's a fourth one out yet. We have the first three. So anyway, really enjoying the Hero's Guide books. All right. Couple more things I want to show you before we get out of here. I finished the Habitation Throw. And I don't think I've shown you this totally finished. Isn't this a hoot? Really enjoyed it. So it's pretty big. I haven't even counted how many yarns are in it. But anyway, really liking this. And this is the one that's great when I'm reading with the children. I can kind of wrap it around my shoulders like a shawl. I don't see myself knitting a lot of blankets. I just kind of get tired of it. But I absolutely love the weight of this. It's all fingering weight yarn. And I really like the way it feels. The other thing that I finished, don't look too closely, we've talked about it a little bit, is my Valentine quilt. It's a lap size, like big lap size, and I love wrapping up in it. I was gonna pack this away after February, and I'm enjoying it too much. I didn't have quite enough of my backing, so I took my leftovers and just made a little scrappy strip for the middle. I think that's just so much fun. If you look closely, you will find many, many mistakes, so don't look too closely. But I have loved curling up under this blanket. So, hope everything's going well. Are you stocking up for coronavirus quarantine? I've seen the funniest stuff about that. I'll kind of end with this. One is wash your hands like you've just eaten an entire bag of Cheetos and are about to crochet with pure white yarn. Is that a good visual for you? I showed it to a friend who crochets quite a bit. She thought it was hilarious. It was our pastor's wife. And she said, yes, that definitely gets the message across. The other one I saw this morning, it said, wash your hands like you've just chopped jalapenos for nachos and you need to take out your contacts. Again, really good image of how well you need to wash your hands. So wash your hands. The other things that I've seen people stocking up on are chocolate, Pat, the designer, that's not it, the designer of the Kephart prong socks, posted a picture of her husband's coronavirus quarantine preparations. It was bags and bags and bags of, I think they were almond M&Ms. I want to quarantine at her house. So are you prepared? I hope that you're doing well and those around you are staying well. It's a little scary because we're not quite sure how this is going to play out in terms of how dangerous it's going to be to the general population, but I hope that you stay well, and if you have to be quarantined, that you have plenty of yarn. If you need some, you can go to blueberrychickyarn.etsy.com. Throwing in a plug there. I can help you out with the yarn, but otherwise just post what your preparations are, if any, and what projects you're working on. I would love to see it. All right, everybody take care, and we will chat again later.